Hello, everyone. Ketchy1383 with Ketchy Gaming, and today I want to talk about Clair Obscur Expedition 33. So, while everyone else is swooning over Oblivion, it's a modified version of Oblivion. It still has all the jank and stuff with a smattering of Unreal Engine 5 over it. But if you're liking it, go for it. I found the game particularly bland and boring when I played it back in the day, and just because you put something shiny over it doesn't make it any better. And unfortunately, I'm afraid it may have, I don't know, obscured Expedition 33 here, which is a very good game so far from what I've played. It has a very intriguing story that actually caught my interest, and whenever I get a game like this, I'm trying to guess what's going to happen, what's with the plot, what's going on. And I was sort of right, but I won't give any details because I would encourage you to actually play this game. So, what is Expedition 33? I'm not going to use the full title. Basically, you're a group of people living on an island out in the middle of an ocean that they know was part of the main continent. For whatever reason, it got separated. And every year, they have a monolith that you can see in the background with a number on it. And anybody who is that age will disappear when it counts down to the next number. So it goes from 34 to 33, and they go through what they call the gommage, which is French for rub out or erase. And they disappear. I won't show how. You can make your own conclusions if you see how they do it. And you're kind of wondering what is causing this, and they say it's from the paintress, the giant figure who erases the previous number and then puts on the new one. So, what has become a tradition in this particular island is if it's your last year before the gommage happens, you go on an expedition in order to find out what's happening or stop the paintress from causing the gommage to happen. And that's what's happening with Group 33. It's usually composed of volunteers, although there is a journal entry later on that you can find that it kind of hints that some people are a little bit more vocal, end up being sent there kind of as a form of execution because very few people, if any, come back at all. I'm not entirely sure if anybody comes back. They do seem to have some information, so I'm thinking yes, some form of information makes it back to them for sure. So, just to put a little bit of emphasis on what's happening here, let's say you have a 2-year-old, and based on the gommage counting down and him aging up, by the time he hits 17, the gommage will happen for him. So, on top of just everyone dying as time counts down, people aren't even bother having children because they'll just be dead before they even reach adulthood, or I should say, are rubbed out before they reach adulthood. So these expeditions have been getting smaller and smaller as time goes on. Now, in terms of visuals, it is actually a very stunningly visual game. It is Unreal Engine 5, so it makes my computer chug. It can still handle high resolution, but it gets kind of on the hot side. Cats love it, and right now the weather's good enough that it actually keeps my PC cool enough if I open a window, so it's not that big of a deal. And it also has some of the best music I've heard in a really, really long time from a video game. It is, I want to say, very French. Yes, it was made by French developers. And on top of that, it's hard to explain. It's like if you've watched a lot of foreign films and stuff like that, and you kind of get a feel for it. This has a very French feel to it. Same way that, like, let's say anime has a very Japanese feel to it. This is has that same sort of, I don't know, I guess texture to it In terms of its story, its visual and stuff, it's very Frenchy, if that makes any sense to anybody. Now, in terms of gameplay, it is a turn-based system with a bit of a twist. I shouldn't say really that much of a twist. It's been done before. So basically, what happens is when an enemy attacks, you have a couple of options to avoid damage. One is parrying, and one is dodging. There's some advantages to the others. Dodging is far easier and a little bit more forgiving. Parrying takes more precise timing, but you get what they call AP if you do a successful parry, and if you parry all the attacks, you get to do what they call a counterattack, which is a massive bit of damage when you land all those counters. Also, like you just saw on the screen, when you attack, you actually have to hit buttons when indicated, and if you line it up correctly, you will get some extra damage out of it, or extra effects out of it. Like using a healing spell that's only intended for one person, but if you nail all the quick time events in the spell, for lack of a better way of describing it, you will heal the whole entire party instead of just the one target. It's more like Mario and Luigi games where you can counter with a hammer or use the jump. It's very similar to that. There is an occasional third option where you jump as well, but it's not as common as just being able to parry or dodge. And there's a few attacks where, yes, you do need to actually dodge. So here's the kicker with this whole entire thing. It relies very heavily on you being able to actually land these dodges and these counters in order to do massive amounts of damage and avoid damage. It's not like Final Fantasy where you just sort of hope something doesn't devastate you and you get through the battle. This, you actually have to actively dodge and parry, because if you don't, you're going to have a hard time and you're not going to make it through most of the fights. On top of that, it has a Souls-like mechanic in which you rest at a flag spot placed around by the various expeditions in the past. And when you rest, it respawns all the enemies. Instead of random encounters and stuff like that, you can even get first attack instances where you do a move when you get to go first when you start the encounter. Like I said, very Mario and Luigi-esque. And I guess if you want a different comparison, Stellar Blade combined with Final Fantasy might be a little bit more appropriate. So the thing about this game is it's hard. It's hard to get those timings down. It often requires a little bit of practice to actually get them down for just regular enemies, but when it comes to bosses, it may take a couple of fights of you getting your butt kicked by them to get those timings down in order to survive. Which, yeah, I think that's my biggest detraction from it, is the lack of survivability without getting those dodges. I can point to one specifically really powerful boss that if you mess up one dodge, he will instantly kill you. And the whole entire fight, you actually have to dodge the whole entire time. Kind of annoying, but I kind of get it. It's supposed to be challenging. The other part to it is I think they're a touch over animated. By that, I mean they're kind of flashy. And I'm not entirely sure if they're messing with you, but sometimes what will happen is they'll be in the middle of a combo. You'll nail the first two. And if you haven't seen it before, if you're not ready for it, they'll do like a third attack, but in the middle of the swing when you think it's supposed to happen, they'll slow down, messing with you. Not sure if that's intentional in order to keep you from landing that parry or getting that dodge, or if it's supposed to actually help you. I'm not entirely sure. But other than that, it's actually a really fun game, especially because you have to actively participate. You don't just hit buttons and hope for the best. And I would show you more footage of the game, but I really don't want to spoil it because, like I said, this is a really gorgeous game. And if I show too much of it, I might spoil certain events in the game. Or bosses or monsters that you might come across. They're not called monsters. I'm just using that as a generic term. But honestly, if you have Game Pass or if you have some spare money around, this game is actually kind of worth it. It is really fun and really challenging. Admittedly, I had to drop it down to game journalist mode, aka story mode, because my old man reflexes can't handle the timings necessary to land some of these attacks. Or let me rephrase that: land some of the parries or dodges. With enough practice, yes, I can get them in story mode, which is more forgiving, but sometimes I just have an absolutely hard time doing it. So I'm kind of wondering what it's like on the other difficulties. I started off as medium, and I was just getting my butt kicked, so I had to drop it down. And even then, there are instances where I am just absolutely getting devastated, even on the story mode. So if you're looking for a challenge, game with a really decent story, even good, some really good music, and some very stunning visuals, I would try this game out. I can't emphasize that enough. Anyways, if you made it this far, thanks for watching. Have a good one.